Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage. Welcome back to episode 3 of Europa Universalis V in this little series where I'm just trying to learn how to play the game. I've taken a few days away from recording videos for EU5 because I did feel that I was stumbling around quite a lot and being overwhelmed by the interface, and that's exactly what I want to avoid doing. So I took a few days to go and, read whatever documentation there was for the game, things on the Wikipedia, watch some of the videos, watch some of the official Paradox stuff, and also just get myself more familiar with the UI and the game's mechanics. And I think what I was doing in the last couple of videos is I was trying to play like EU4. And EU4, for all of the great things about it, is very much just focused on militaristic expansion. I mean, pretty much most people that play EU4, and I might be generalizing here, but I think most people that play EU4 go heavily into aggressive expansion. And, providing your aggressive expansion holds out and your war exhaustion, you and your manpower, you basically just keep starting wars with your neighbors and keep gobbling up neighboring provinces until you conquer the whole world. You can't really do that on EU5, at least, well, maybe you can, but there's certainly more of a focus in EU5 on actually managing your country, on managing your economy, on your trade and production, and diplomacy, which is great. I mean, a grand strategy game should be about all of those things, not just the war. And I think in my rush to try and get to some excitement, I was skipping over a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have done. And in part, that's down to making YouTube videos, right? Because you don't want a video that's an hour long where I haven't unpaused the game. But that is just the way of EU5. Now, bearing in mind, this video series that you're watching right now isn't supposed to be my definitive guide on how to play the game. It's just me messing around, learning it, and you guys are with me along for the journey. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a linear let's play. This could well be me jumping around between different countries and trying different things. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to jump back in at the beginning again and restart. I'm just going to untick this, tick this, do not start the learning walkthrough on the game start. I don't want the walkthrough because it is basically do this, click this, press that, and I want a little bit of freedom here. So hopefully now I know a little bit more about the game to be able to get this right. I still get confused by clicking on the wrong buttons on the interface because there's a lot of different windows and pop-ups and things like that. So I will still, until I get used to it, I will still be making those little mistakes. Hopefully there won't be too many of them. As usual, the game is taking forever to load, despite the fact that it's not that big of an install and it's on an M2 drive, but there we go. So here we are. We are thrown into Castile. The game is paused. We know about that. Starting advice for Castile. We've kind of already read this before. So, as the dominant power in the region, the Crown of Castile stands on privileged grounds for unifying Iberia under one throne. However, our administration is already stretched thin, and our control in the south is so low it barely contributes to our balance. It would be wise to consolidate our control over our current territory before we embark on further conquests. And I think that's one of the things that I didn't really take care of on the previous start. Yes, I did try and build some roads, but I didn't really do an awful lot with that. So what it wants me to do here is build roads from the capital. Locations without control are virtually useless to our administration. Build roads and bridge buildings from our capital in order to increase our proximity and therefore our control. Check the proximity map mode frequently. Also, subjugate Granada. Even if we are not in a position to own their land very effectively, we could make Granada our subject. They would rule the land on our behalf and pay monthly tribute into our treasury. We can consider annexing them once their infrastructure and technology have developed enough to allow owning the land directly. In order to annex a subject, we will need to have ruled over them for more than 10 years and enjoyed good relations with them. Plus ultra explorers. Well, we're not too bothered about that right now. So here's an interesting thing. Bridges. So we need to build those if you want to go over some rivers, and there are some rivers along the way. So they are built as a building, which is probably the reason why my roads to the south didn't work very well, because there's actually a river here from I can never get this right, Valladolid across Oh, no, there is already a bridge there, so that is fine. Okay. So we know how that goes. Let's dismiss that there. Start a new mission tree. So here we go. Like, even though I told it to turn off the tutorial, it has actually given me the mission tree, which is something that I find weird because it's not in the main game. But you can basically pick a mission here. Like this one lets me pick an expansion mission, like humiliate a rival, declare war on Navarre. Won't let me actually pick one of these missions, but interesting that that's in there now. Okay, weird. Yeah, why do we have missions in this? Bear with me 1 second. Okay, there we go. I've got rid of it. So what I've basically done is I've restarted the game, but restarted it from the world map rather than from the suggested countries map, and now we don't have the missions on there, so that is great. So we're pretty much back to where we were now. We've got our starting advice, pops demanding goods, lack of command, underage air, all of that other stuff. It's all pretty much up here anyway, on the tabs. So the first thing it mentions, yes, is control. So if we actually go and have a look at our control map mode, we can see that we've got one down here that's actually 35, which is pretty good. Why is that so high, actually? Because of local market protection, I guess, is boosting that up a little bit, because there is a market down here. And we've got the port, so it's essentially connected to a few things via the sea. But most of our land is only 20 control, which means we're not going to get a lot from them at all. I mean, if you look at some of these places, I mean, even this one here, this is 35 down at Cordoba, which is basically saying that the potential tax base here is 6.98 ducats, but the effective tax base is only 2.44 ducats because of low control. And some of these places that are 20, you know, 5 ducats and 16 goes down to 1.03 ducats. So we really do want to try and increase the control down here if we can. And we also want to, you know, take control of Granada. So we'll have to look at that. So let's go through some of these things as we can. Possible rivals. We want to sort out our rivals, basically. Now, it's giving me the options here, actually, of Morocco, Tunis, and Tlemcen, rather than Portugal, Aragon, and Navarre. If we have actually look at those, Aragon actually likes me. Portugal likes me. Navarre likes me. So do I really want to, you know, rival them? Well, probably not, because we might be able to do something diplomatically with them. We've got enough problems to deal with without necessarily going to our war with our neighbours at this point of the game. So let's go ahead and rival Morocco. I mean, Morocco have already rivaled me anyway. Well, they are actually, Morocco are already my rival. So then we've got Tunis and we've got Tlemcen, which are both down here. And they dislike me. We're also much stronger than both of them. So let's just go ahead for the sake of it, and we'll rival up both of these ones. So there's our rivals done for now. We can always change these later, so that's not too much of a big deal. Also means I'm no longer rival to my direct neighbours. So what we could do is potentially get alliances with our neighbours. So we can go ahead and go to... I think the easiest way to do this now. Like I said, I do still trip up on the... it's the word I'm looking for here. I do still trip up on the UI. It's a bit messy. So click on a province, and then we can get to Portugal here. And we've got friendly actions. And we can form a defensive league, and we can offer an alliance. They won't accept an alliance, actually, but they will form a defensive league. So, well, no, we don't want a defensive league because you need more than one person in it. How can we get an alliance with you? So only down by 12.5. They do desire some of my land. They do like me a fair bit. We could try and improve things with them. Okay, let's leave Portugal for a moment. Let's have a quick look at Aragon. Would they accept an alliance? They wouldn't. They're even less likely to want to take an alliance. And what about Navarre? They will actually accept an alliance. Can I just get to these by right-clicking? Yeah, if you right-click, you can go into here and open all diplomatic actions. There we go. So, okay, let's go ahead and offer an alliance to Navarre. And we also want to get Granada on board. Now, they don't like me much at all. In fact, they hate me. So we definitely want to go in and improve our relations with them. So let's go ahead and start working on that. Let's also have a quick look at our economy, because we're currently losing money. So, again, as I mentioned in the first video, we can hit any of these little cogs to basically automate taxes and things like that. We can also go into automations and just click on balance, which will do the entire balance sheet rather than individual things there if we wanted to do that, but I don't necessarily want to do that right now. For maintenance, we're going to put down, we're not at war, so the forts don't currently need to be maintained. We can pay some money directly into boosting up our stability, and it's probably worth a ducat just to take it up a little bit. We can tax the nobility a little bit more than we currently are, although, I mean, we've got an equilibrium with them at the moment. If we were to start taxing them more, they'd be unhappy. So let's tax them a little bit less. We can't tax the clergy. We could reduce the tax on the burghers. I mean, of course, we are still making money here. And then we could tax the commoners. Well, we're maximum tax on the commoners right now. We could reduce the army maintenance a little and the navy maintenance a little, but it's not really costing us too much money. We could reduce our diplomatic spending, which would decrease our loyalty of subjects. But right now, we're not really... we don't really have any subjects, so we can decrease this by a little bit and make some money. Children can have a better education. No, don't need any of this. Let's get rid of that for now. We could also reduce court costs, which would reduce our legitimacy gain, but I think it is worth having some of that. We could just nudge it down a little, just a little. And we can probably afford to mint some money without increasing inflation. So we're actually making 11 ducats now. That is great. We don't have any debts. That is fantastic. So that's that sorted. Lack of a commander. So we don't have a commander of our main army. Let's go ahead and just put this guy in because he's got 90... I keep wanting to call this Marshall from playing Crusader Kings. He's got 97 military ability. So yes, please get yourself in there. It's also going to complain about the Navy not having an admiral. Again, there's no specific sort of naval trait. It just still uses your militaristic value. We can sort by that. This guy's at 94. Cool, let's put you in. There should be a cabinet actions thing here somewhere. Possible cabinet actions. There we go. So we don't have any cabinet members. So you want to try and find somebody who's got either high stats across the board or find somebody who's got one particular high stat. So this person here, this person's got particularly good administration. So let's put you into one of the slots, and then we've only got one other slot. That's the wrong button that I've just clicked on there. So let's go back and try that again. And then this person's got decent diplo and decent military. So let's put him in the other slot. So now we've got some actions that we can take. I can't remember now whether it's a diplo action or an admin action, but what we can do is we can improve relations. Yeah, it's a diplo. So your diplo's 83. I always keep clicking off the wrong thing. Your diplo's 83. So yeah, you're the one that we want to be doing this. So we want you to work on... actually, no, not improving relations. What we can get, there's one that allows us to increase control. And that's an admin one. Max control and monthly control. So let's go back to you and increase provincial control. So that's what you're going to work on. Now for this, we actually have to pick where we do it. So we've got Cordoba down here, which is actually a city that could produce us quite a lot of money. We can actually see this if we click on the tax base. We can see where it comes from. So second highest one is actually Zamora, but Zamora has decent control. So we want to be looking down at these ones that have like a control of 20 or low sort of numbers. So Cordoba's 21 and it gives us 3.3 ducats. So let's go and work on Cordoba. We'll start trying to build some control up down there. And then we've got the guy with military and Diplo who we could get to improve relations, which is not a bad thing to do. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's just get him for the time being improving relations. Cool. So those are those problems sorted. We're not working on any current research. There's only one thing that we can research right now anyway, which is organized religion. So the way that texts work in this is pretty similar to it's pretty similar to how it was in EU4, where you actually have these institutions that will spawn in various places around the world, and only once that institution spawns does it unlock that particular tree of technology. So we're in the age of traditions. Most of the institutions have already spawned, but we can't get, for example, meritocracy because we don't have access to that particular institution yet. So the only one that we can do is organized religion. So let's go ahead and just start working on that. So our children can have a better education. So all characters are basically born with 0, 0, 0. This child is our son, basically. Good old Pedro. He has a balanced education currently. We could go into him having an administrative education or a diplomatic education. Let's go into admin for him. I mean, we are trying to sort out the mess that is the country right now. We've got another child here who is probably more suited towards Diplo. So let's put you into a Diplo education. And that's those done. Ships are repairing slowly. Now, that's due to a lack of goods. So this is another one of the big things in EU5 is actually dealing with goods. Underage air we can't do anything about. Insufficient mining, lack of access to needed goods. So yeah, goods are a problem. Unprofitable buildings, pops with needs. Right, so in Europa Universalis 4, the smallest parcel of land on the map was a province. So we could look at a province here. It's very difficult to see the lines because it doesn't actually show me. There isn't a provincial map mode, I don't think. But a province now is divided into individual locations, which is a smaller parcel of land. Let me look at England, actually, because obviously with England, I know it better. So if we look over here, so if we look at this dark line, so this dark line here represents Leicestershire. I know it well because this is where I live. So Leicester is actually split into 4 different locations. You've got Bosworth, Loughborough, Oakham, and Leicester, which is really weird because Leicester's not down here at the bottom. Leicester's like right here in the middle, and this bit at the bottom is now currently, you know, South Leicestershire is, well, it doesn't really matter. But the point is, Leicester City is actually right here in the middle. So this is the province, the dark outline, and then these are 4 different locations within the province of Leicestershire. It says up here as I click on them. So these are locations, and they're all in the same province of Leicestershire. And I use that as the example because, you know, I know where it is. If I go around here and start clicking within these lines, so let's look within our sort of capital province. So our capital of Valladolid is within the province of Valladolid. But so is the town of Medina del Campo, so is Tordesillas, so is Penafiel. So all of these places are in this. That's in a different province, but all, you know, a lot of these places are all in the same province. Now, each one of these individual locations produces its own good, as in a raw material, right? Some of them do cross over multiple places because, you know, like farmland tends to be all close together, but it's basically on a per location basis. You will find that there are some raw materials that you just do not produce. If you want things like tobacco and coca and stuff like that, you're obviously going to, and spices, you need to be in the appropriate part of the world. So in order to get some of these raw materials, you need to have what is referred to in the game as an RGO, a resource gathering operation. So let's say we want to get wine, okay? Which basically means we're growing grapes over here. So if I click on this province, and you can see over here on the top right, we have our wine production. Now our RGO level here is 3 of 9. So you can increase the level of the resource gathering operations, and the higher the level, the more of that material or the more of that resource that you get. However, every single level of resource gathering operation requires 1,000 laborers. So you've got to make sure that you have enough laborers to do so. There are also some other requirements, such as like what's required for construction. But as you can see, our RGO level here is 3 of 9. 9 is the max, so we could increase it 6 more times. And the current employment is 3,000 of 3,000. It can be laborers or slaves that are running that. So we do have enough people to run that. If we go over here and look at this one, which is wheat, this one is also 3 of 9, so that's using 3,000 laborers. Let's look at this one. That's 3 of 8. So the maximum RGO level is determined by a few different factors about the actual terrain itself. Like this one, the max is 7, and the current level is 1, so it's only using 1,000 employees. So these are your raw goods. Now, raw goods can also get converted into a usable good. So, for example, wool can get turned into cloth. Now, in order to turn a raw good into a usable good, you need to build buildings. And this is what these slots are for. Whenever you click on a location within the game, you see these slots on the left-hand side. And these represent the different population type. So we've got the nobles, we've got the clerics, we've got the laborers, and we've got the peasants. And these are the people that are available to work in the buildings. So the number on the left is the number of unemployed, the number available, and the number on the right is the maximum number. So we've got 61 of 61 nobles not doing anything here. We've got 121 of 121 clerics not doing anything here. We've got 2,000 laborers, but they are all busy because they're all working collecting the wool. And we've got 24,000 available peasants. Now, the peasants themselves don't really do that much, but they get promoted up to laborers. So, for example, if I was to increase the RGO here, we'd be short 1,000 laborers, but we've got 24,000 peasants, and they would get promoted. But it takes time. So if we go and look at the laborers here, you can see that laborers only get 11 per month from promotion. So they would still, peasants would promote up to laborers, but it takes forever. There are other ways to do it as well. You can basically have people migrate it, but that's how we increase our resource gathering operation. So if we wanted to turn wool into a usable good, and you can see that by if we click here, no, that's not the one. Is it here? Stone quarry, fruit orchard, sandpit, sheep farm. So it's a sheep farm that we've got. And then if we go and look, where's the burgers? We don't have any burgers down here. We've got the nobles. But yeah, this allows us to build the buildings to get materials we want, or to turn them into the resources we want. So the thing is, we've got needs. Our ships are repairing slowly due to the lack of goods in the following market. So the Sevilla market, which is down here, I assume, and we can look at that because we've got the markets map mode. So yeah, so basically the bottom half of the country is the Sevilla market. The Sevilla market has a lack of naval supplies. So we can go ahead and have a look at the market. We're looking at this market now. We can change between the markets that we are a part of using these buttons, and we're a part of a couple of different markets. So there's 4 different markets that we have access to. But this is specifically the Sevilla market because this is where our ships are. So we've got a lack of naval goods. So we want to try and find them on the list. So we can go ahead and just type in naval goods here and we can see them. So the burghers are actually importing 130 naval supplies. And Mercia is providing 0.5. And then if we mouse over this, yeah, so it looks like it's actually meeting demand. So I don't know why it's saying that there's a lack of, because we're actually importing it in. We don't have a surplus of it. Now, it is driving the price up. That's the other problem. Because we're having to buy it in, it is driving the price up. We could potentially produce this stuff if we wanted to. So if we go here, we can click on this button. And yeah, we haven't got any shortages. Naval supplies is a produced good. Still haven't found the easy way to find out how you produce something. It's like, okay, how if I wanted to, how would I produce naval supplies? Let's go into I thought produced goods was on here somewhere. Right, let's go back to here. So there we go. So yeah, we have burghers. Burghers are the ones that produce things. So tools, Potter's Guild, distillers, weaponsmith, tannery, marketplace. Excuse the dogs going crazy. Carpenter's Guild, brewery, and spinners. So what we should be able to do, because there are 1,000 people still available. Jewelers, spinners, naval supply guild. So we don't have a naval supply guild. So we could create one. And the naval supply guild will take 200 burghers. So if we have a look again at the list of available burghers, we've got 5,000 in total, 4,000 are currently employed, and 1,000 are available to be employed. So let's go ahead and build that. So that should mean, once that is built, that we'll be producing our own naval supplies, and then we won't necessarily have to worry about importing them in. And if we have any surplus, we can even sell them. Now, those naval supplies will require a raw good. So we'll have to have that, but that should help. Now, insufficient minting, our minting efficiency is only 50% due to lack of access to needed goods. And it's decreasing the amount of money we get from minting. So if you look at minting, it actually requires gold and silver. Because you need the gold and silver, the physical material, to make the coins. And we don't have enough of that coming in. So again, we could go ahead and have a look at the market for that. Here, this tab. And let's go look at the Burgos market, which is our main market, because it's where our capital is. And we can go and have a look at gold and silver, because you can import the stuff in. Now, I don't think, I'm just going to quickly check this. I think I know the answer. We don't have any gold or silver on the map. Not in our country, right? I don't know why there isn't a search for raw materials, or is there? The searcher of this map mode. There we go. So that's a good thing. So if you want to search for something in a particular map mode, it's this little button down here on the right-hand side of the tab at the bottom. So I want to look for gold. That was slow, wasn't it? What happened there? And these are impassable systems. So this will highlight anywhere where there's gold on the map. Yeah, so there's some over here. It doesn't help that it shows the impassable terrain as the very similar colour. The important thing to note is there is no gold in Spain. And then we also want to look at silver. And I'm going to guess there's no silver either, right? Oh, no, there is some. We do have silver down here. And some up there, actually. So we do have some. Now, down here, we've got very low control. Up here, we've got very low control. I've just queued that up accidentally by clicking on it. So let me just have a look at that. This has a control of 20. So they're both pretty bad when it comes to control. We don't have any available peasants down, labourers down here for this one. And this one down here is pretty much in the same situation. But we are going to go ahead and try and increase that. It will take some time. As for the gold, we are going to have to import that in because we simply do not have gold available to us. So we'll go to the markets. We'll go to the Burgos market. We can see that we've got gold in here. So we want to basically import the gold in. Now, it'll cost us money. We only have a small need for it. We only need 0.13 per month. So we can choose where we want to import it from. If we have any markets available where we can import it from. Now, at the moment, it's all of my market is automated. So, you know, I could turn that off if I wanted to. But I think I'll leave it on for the time being. So I'm not going to worry too much about that particular pop-up. We'll just let the game sort itself out. So we know we've got insufficient minting. We know our age is under air. We can't do anything about that. We've got some unprofitable buildings. So there's a bunch of weaponsmiths and there's a bunch of potters guilds. So I'm assuming the reason that they are not doing well is either because we're not able to sell the pottery for very much or because we are lacking a particular raw material. So let me go back to that because I always end up in the wrong map mode when I do this. So Potter's Guild. Why is it not making any money? I think it's because there's no real sort of demand for the pottery. So what we could do is shut those buildings down. I don't really want to automate building construction. They're not costing me a huge amount of money right now, so I think we'll leave that to sit. And we also have pops with needs. Now, you'll find that there's a lot of pops in a lot of markets with a lot of needs. So all of these ones that show in red, and we're basically sorting here by pop needs. If we untick that, it basically shows all of the goods in that market. So all of the white ones have a status quo. All of the green ones means we have a surplus, which is great. We can sell it. All of the red ones we have a demand for that's not being met, which means we either need to produce it or we need to import it in from another market. If we go ahead into the filters here, we can tick by pop needs, which is what it was already on. And then that will go ahead and show all of the ones where we have a requirement for them. So particularly there is a requirement for fruit and there is a requirement for sturdy grains. Now you'd think that one would be easy because we actually have, once again, if we go back to the raw materials map mode, we have fruit here right next to, or right in the town of Medina del Campo. So we should be able to really bring this in. We do have some labourers available and there's a lot of peasants and they get promoted. 16 a month is not fast, but let's go ahead and increase this RGO to get more fruit. Might as well only do it one level at a time because once it's built it takes a long while for it to sort of level up. The control here is also nice and high. So we've got wheat down here as well. This is a control of 73. This wheat is in a controlled area of 88. So we're likely to get more from here. Again, there's lots of peasants. So let's go ahead and increase that. Now, obviously, these all take time to build. You know, it takes a half a year to expand the farms. But hopefully then we'll have some more raw materials coming in. And yeah, as you can see, this is pretty much the reason why in my first video I was going, okay, let's just unpause the game and go to war. Because we're now half an hour into this video and I haven't even unpaused the game yet. All I'm trying to do is clear my notifications and get my economy stabilized before I even unpause the game. And we will do, but, you know, I think there are a certain group of people who think that if you're playing EU4 and the game is paused, you're not actually playing it. But a lot of stuff has to happen during the paused session of EU4 or EU5 in this case. But I think we're off to a good start there. We've you know, I've not been skipping things. I've not been automating everything. I have a good understanding of how this stuff works, even though I still get like, okay, where's this button? No, I've lost this tab. How do I bring this thing up? I still get mixed up with the user interface a bit. And that's a problem that all Paradox games have, right? They're very, very messy, cluttered UIs. But I think I'm finding my way around here. So we've still got some money in the bank. So before I end this video, we do want to consider trying to build some roads because our control outside of the capital is absolutely pants. Let's be honest. It would be nice if we could get something down here. Now, building roads is incredibly expensive. We want to build a road. Well, it doesn't even necessarily have to be right from the capital. But if we want to build a road from here, as we mouse around, we can see how much that road's going to cost us. I mean, just building the road down to here is going to cost 700 ducats. And, you know, that's a lot. We could easily use half of the money we have just trying to build the road down here. But it's probably worth it. So let's go and build the road down to here. We are going to want a road that runs all the way down to the south at some point anyway, because we have got some other good cities down here. We've got our ports down here. If we do manage to grab Granada, obviously we'll want to have a road connection down to there. We could also build some ports here as well if we don't already have any. I mean, we've got Murcia down here. We could build some ports here, and then that would allow us to sort of connect these two areas up using the sea. And obviously we've got some of the north coast as well that we can use. So remember, control is based on proximity, which is how close one place is to another. So in terms of proximity, everywhere's very far away, but the map mode only really shows proximity to the capital though. But if our capital was, let's say we built a road up here to Laredo, and then we built a port in Laredo, we'd then have proximity to a port that we build over here, because it's easier to get there via sea than via road. So we will try and sort of build up this proximity, and that's the point of building the road. It's to help reduce the proximity, which should increase the control, and that will give us more taxes. Now, one last thing that I do just want to touch on, because I haven't brought this up yet, is on how taxes work. So within the nation, there are actually a number of these different estates. Now, most places have 5, including the Crown, because the Crown doesn't show along here on the top. It shows, and they all have slightly different names based on the cultural naming, but it's all basically the same. Is you basically have the nobles, you have the clergy, you have the burghers, and you have the commoners. So you've got the rich nobility that control all of the power, all of the wealth, and have all of the titles. You've got the clerics, so basically you've got your monks and your priests and, you know, the clergy, basically everyone involved in the church. You've got the burghers, who are basically your artisans, your people who make things, your traders. And then you've got the commoners. So basically that's all of your labourers, all of your peasants, all of your soldiers and everyone else. Some other nations do have like tribes and a few other things as well. So there are different estates that you can have in there. So every single province produces money, and that state is owned by, or that province is split between various different, the control of that province is split between the various different estates. So if we look at Valladolid here, you can see that the nobles own or control 24% of that location. The clerics control 9% of it. The burghers control 48% of it, and the commoners control 17% of it. So the potential tax base and I'm looking at this one now because there's no loss of tax because it's 100% control in that particular location. So the amount of tax that is produced in Valladolid is 20.31 ducats. And 24% of that goes to the nobles, 9% of it goes to the clergy, 48% of it goes to the burghers, 17% of it goes to the commoners. Or should I say it doesn't go to, that's where it's coming from, right? The reason that there is a potential base tax of 20.31 ducats is because the nobles are producing 24% of that wealth. The clerics are producing 9% of that wealth. The burghers are producing 48% of that wealth. So that's where that number comes from. And then they all get taxed, and the amount they get taxed is based on two things. It's based on the tax slider in the balance sheet, because you can choose to raise or lower the tax for the various different groups, and it's also based on the control of the province. So we're not currently taxing the clergy at all, so we're not taking any of their 1.89 ducats. We are taxing the nobility. Our tax rate for the nobility is 11.05%. So we're getting 11.05% of their 4 ducats 99, which is 0.55 ducats. And I've just managed to mouse over that tooltip. If we look at the burghers, our taxation on the burghers is 28.05%, which means we're taking 28.05% of their 9.76 ducats, which is 2 ducats and 73. And then finally, we're taxing the nobles 44.61%, which means we're taking 1 ducat 63 away from their 3 ducats 65. Gives us a grand total of 4 ducats and 92 from this particular location. If we were then to go down to another location that does not have 100% control, you can see that the potential tax base is losing 24% of its available tax base because we only have, I think the control's being rounded down there. The maximum control here is 71% anyway due to its proximity. But you can see because we have reduced control, the potential tax base is 2 ducats and 76, but we're actually only having an effective tax base of 2 ducats 09 because of the lack of control. So the further away a province or a location is from your capital, the less money you're going to make from it. So you go ahead and grab one down here where we've only got like 20%. Yeah, so the potential tax base here is 0.86 ducats, but the effective tax base is only 0.17 ducats. So if we actually look at the money we're making from it, and let the tooltip stay open, we're losing 80% of the available tax, which means we're making a grand total of 0.05 ducats from this province. So yeah, increasing control is really important because it's not just about the amount of tax that you get from a province, but it's also about the amount of levies. Because when in this early stage of the game, and this is where EU4 probably differs the most from EU5, in EU4, the whole game you start with regular armies, right? Which are professional soldiers that you hire, maintain with manpower, and pay gold for. In Europa Universalis V, in the early stages of the game, you're actually using raised levies. You're basically using peasants and commoners and arming them with like pitchforks and really basic weapons. And The problem with that is you're raising these levies from the different provinces, different locations around your territory. If you have low control, you're going to get fewer levies. I mean, if we go ahead and click on any place in particular, you can go and see where all of those, because this shows you by province, not by particular location. But when you go and have a look and see where those particular levies come from, you will see that you're not just getting commoners, you will get nobles as well. So there is a pop-up for it, and now I'm sort of not seeing where it is, but I'll find it for the next video. There's a tooltip that actually shows you for each levy how many commoners you'll get, how many nobles you'll get, because the nobles will provide you with like knights, okay, and your commoners are all just going to be like bowmen, and your burghers will be footmen and things like that. And the other important thing to remember is that they are your population, right? It's not your manpower, it's your population. So if you raise your levies and send them to war and the whole army gets wiped out, I mean, what was our max levy raise there? 50,000 people, right? So if I raise a levy of 50,000 people, which is nearly 10% of my population, no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing there. Look, it's 1% of my population. But if I was to raise that levy and they died, that's population lost. Now that could be, and a good example of that again. If we look at that, if we look at the levies that we could raise from Valladolid, it's 3,000. I mean, that's from the whole province, right? It's not from. It's not from each individual location, but that's 4,000 people from this one province. So we could potentially wipe out all of the labourers that are working the fields or working the farms. So it's a really, really bad idea to go to war early on, because you're basically killing off your workforce, which leaves your country in an even bigger economic mess than it was to begin with. So there are definitely lots of changes in EU4 in EU5 compared to EU4. And I think that's the important thing with this. Don't just rush into wars. You've got to deal with all of this management of your population. Like, population is everything in EU5. You've got to make sure that you keep your people alive and keep your people happy. Because without keeping the estates happy and without keeping your population happy, you've got no tax income, you've got no levies, you've got no workforce. Another important thing on tax that's worth remembering is if you decide to, in the balance sheet, if you decide to reduce the tax for a particular estate, let's say we wanted to reduce the tax of the nobles right down to nothing, that means that the nobles have more money in their pocket. And they will use that money to improve development. They will actually build their own buildings in their own provinces. They will spend their own money to develop. And then the same is true for all of the estates. Any money they have, they will spend it to develop. However, it makes them stronger. And when they get stronger, they're more likely to rebel against you. So what you could do is tax them really harshly, which is going to reduce the amount of spare money they have, which means they won't be as strong, but they won't be able to develop. But you'll get more money. But of course, if you tax them too high, then the status quo starts dropping. They start getting unhappy with you. We can't even tax the clergy here. I'm assuming that's because of some sort of law that we have at as Castile. We probably have a law that says we can't tax the clergy, or maybe it's something to do with the actual church itself. I haven't even looked at the religious side of things on this yet. That will be for another day. But as this video has gone on for 50 minutes, and I haven't even unpaused the game, I am going to end it here. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And even though we haven't gone and invaded any neighbours, hopefully it has been insightful about how to get started playing the game. And again, that's not really the purpose of this video series. This is not the tutorial series. This is me learning how to play the game. And going through this today has basically just been me sort of reaffirming what I think that I've learned and passing it on to you guys in case it might be useful, because I appreciate there's probably people watching this that have bought the game or want to buy the game and they are eager to just like get in and get started. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a place to start. So thanks a lot for watching. Again, a very big thank you to all of my supporters. I really appreciate you guys helping out. Please comment, please like. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.